All right, there's another topic I want to touch on, which is in North America done to boys, and in other countries done to girls, which is the fanatical cult ritual of cutting or circumcision, and it's done mainly to males here in North America. It's historically was done to the slaves to damage the sexuality of the slaves. They couldn't bond with their partners this way. They were traumatized as babies, or traumatized at whatever age it was done to them. It's a barbaric, cult-based ritual that is of a mentality of insanity, as far as I'm concerned. Why you would need to cut a perfectly healthy child, why you would need to do anything to them at all that would lead to that level of trauma is complete insanity. And I want to go through the main functions of the foreskin. It applies to females as well as males, but I'm just going to focus on North America and on the male circumcision insanity that's done. And we have to stop this madness. I can't believe we do this. I think when I see this world and how we poison the children right out of birth, how we poison them in utero, even with the ridiculous non-effective, totally shockingly poisoning flu vaccine that they actually say to pregnant women is safe for their fetus when they've never ever even done a test to say that. They're just maniacs. And the maniacs who cut poor little innocent boy's penis, there's a special place in hell for these people, absolutely. But there's function and there's understanding of the foreskin, and with knowledge is power. You need to understand that there's a purpose to why God put a foreskin on a penis. Like, there's an actual reason for it, many reasons, and that it's not a mistake. God doesn't make mistakes. It's not a whoopsie and we put foreskin on. Oh, darn, better just get that off of there. Oh my gosh, like, what? Okay, so I'm going to go through that because I think it's important to talk about it while we're on this topic. If you're going to research the right car seat to use, the car seat safety, and the right soother for your baby, and fire retardants in clothing, and how to avoid that, and all this kind of nonsense, important things you want to look at, but takes 2 seconds to figure out, basically. But then you're going to just hand your baby over to a medical cult that's going to cut your baby's penis and brain damage them and lead them to never have a proper neurological bond with a female. Yeah, you got to really get your head on straight and do the proper work. So I'll do it here for you. How about that? And then you can learn about it, okay? And then there's no excuse. And when the cutters come at your baby, if you are, if you're stuck at having a hospital birth and can't get out of that, and they come at you with their little grief, they're so fucked in the head that they're, I'm so excited to cut your baby's penis. Can I do it? Can I do it? And sell it off to the high bidder, because they sell it to the skin industry and to all the nutcases that are doing science, and they're using stem cells, and they're giving it to the elite so that they look younger and put it on their face and prettier. They're fucked in the fucking head, okay? But if you want to not get your benefit of they're paying good money for it. At least if you're going to cut your baby, you should get in on that deal. Hey, if you're selling my baby's foreskin for a good price, can I get I should at least get a good cut, like maybe. Then that's an ironic thing to say, but at least 60% or something of what you're making off of my baby penis here. You know what I mean? If you're putting it in vaccines and then you're selling the vaccines, can I get a percentage of that? Because that was from my baby's dick. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even believe that we even have to have this talk. Do you know what I mean? Okay? It's messed, and it pisses me off, and it pisses off a lot of people. And more mothers need to stand up for their sons and say, you come at me with that knife, you're going to have it. Okay? Because really, it's enough. Stop it. I know there's always people, well, my dick's cut and I'm fine. Yeah, I got vaccinated and I'm fine. Well, you have no way of comparing yourself to yourself and how you would have been. And guess what? The couple of studies, there's hardly any, that were finally done on vaccinated versus unvaccinated kids, show that the unvaccinated are the ones that are genius, that are healthier, that are thriving, that don't have autism, that don't have ADD, that don't have all these kinds of problems. So we can imagine that the ones that actually have their dick intact, they're probably doing pretty well too. They probably have long-lasting marriages as well. All right, so let's go through this. Obviously, you know where I stand on the issue. Have I insulted you yet? Because if not, I'll get to you. All right. Full penis length and circumference. Obviously, the prepuce, the foreskin, it is constitutes 50% or more of the skin system of the penis. So do you want your kid to have a shorter dick? Because most men are really obsessed with having a bigger dick. It's actually 60 to 90 square centimeters. So it's not just a little snip, guys. It's a lot of skin. It is 10 to 14 square inches of skin. That's a lot of material, isn't it, that you're taking away from your child? Did you ask your baby if they want to have that removed? Did you get their consent? I don't think so. So that's the size of an index card. It creates a visibly longer penis, obviously, when the foreskin extends beyond the head of the shaft of the penis. And it's a double-layered piece of skin, double layers. And it engorges with blood during erection, and it creates a visibly and centrally thicker shaft and glands. It actually looks nicer. A cut penis is ugly, sorry. Dried out head just ain't pretty to me. When the engorged foreskin retracts behind the coronal ridge of the glands, it often creates a wider and more pronounced ridge that many partners find especially stimulating during penetrative intercourse. Yeah, the woman gets a good, enjoyable experience from that. But the circumcised penis appears truncated and thinner than a full-size intact penis. So if you want to give your child a penis envy issue, snip off all that skin. Protection. This is the myths that are out there that a circumcised penis is somehow cleaner and more protected and all stuff. It's all a bunch of lies, okay? The sleeve of tissue, it covers the glands, it protects it from abrasion and dryness, cracking, callousing, environmental contaminants, and the glands is actually extended by nature to protect that internal organ. It's actually an internal organ. The head of the shaft of the penis is considered an internal organ. And then you're removing the head of it. So now it's an external organ. So it's like, you know, taking your guts and spilling them outside and just saying, that's fine, let them dry out. Okay? That's how stupid it is. The effect of an exposed gland and resulting keratinization, that's the hardening of the skin, on human sexual response has never been studied. Oh, they didn't even bother to maybe compare and contrast circumcised and uncircumcised. Sounds like the vaccine industry, huh? They just go ahead and do things for their own agenda and they don't give a crap about you and your health. Sounds familiar, definitely. But increased reports by circumcised men indicate that keratinized causes a loss of sexual sensation, pleasure, and fulfillment. So they're losing something there. And there's a lot of men who go through foreskin restoration to try to stretch skin over the glands, which, I mean, you can never fully restore it. Once it's gone, it's gone. But they can take the other existing skin and stretch it over the glands and actually make a faux shaft so they can get some sensation back in the head of the penis because it's an internal organ. Rigid bands. The inner foreskin contains bands of densely innervated, sexually responsive tissue. They constitute a primary erogenous zone of the human penis and are important for realizing the fullness and intensity of sexual response. If you are with a partner and you are having a full experience and you are very connected to them and you're having a lot of excitement and enjoyment, and that continues throughout the relationship, would you cheat on them? Not really. Would you go and would you masturbate all the time, try to get pleasure? Like, wouldn't you feel satisfied? I think so. Yeah. So I think this is a bigger agenda going on here, all right, to cut away this normal functioning part of the body. Gliding action. The gliding action of the foreskin is the only moving part of the penis. During any sexual activity, the foreskin and glands work in union. Their mutual interaction creates a complete sexual response. In heterosexual intercourse, the non-abrasive gliding of the penis in and out of itself within the vagina facilitates smooth and pleasurable intercourse for both partners. Without this gliding action, the corona of the circumcised penis can function as a one-way valve dragging vaginal lubricants out into the drawing air and making artificial lubricants essential for non-painful intercourse. Then people have to use lube because everything gets dried out and very uncomfortable, and for both partners. So yay, fun. That's fun times, isn't it? It's like the only good thing we have on earth is sex. Okay, there's a couple good. There's chocolate. I mean, there's a few other things, but like, you know what I mean? Come on. Sex with your husband or wife or your partner is a bonding experience. It's meant to bring you together, right? Yeah. If you can't do that, you're lonely, you're not with someone, you can't bond on that level. I mean, there's a whole bunch going on there. There's more to it than just in and out, in and out. You know what I mean? All right. Specialized sensory tissue. This is where it gets very fascinating. In addition to the rigid bands mentioned above, thousands of coiled fine touch receptors called Meissner's corpuscles constitute the most important sensory component of the penis. The foreskin contains branches of the dorsal nerve in between 10,000 and 20,000 specialized erotogenic nerve endings of several types, which are capable of sensing slight motion and stretch, subtle changes in temperature, and fine gradations in texture. It's like another digit. It's like a finger to pick up that level of sensitivity and that nuance, like you're with someone and you're making love, and that knowing where that partner is and all that communication. That's very deep. Okay, the frenulum. This is a highly nerve-laden web of tissue that tethers the inner foreskin to the underside of the glands. It's similar to the frenula found under the tongue. Okay, that's the frenula. Under the tongue, the upper lip, and the clitoral hood in the female foreskin. For many intact men, the penile frenulum is the male G-spot. It's highly pleasurable when repeatedly stretched and relaxed during sexual activity. Depending on the surgical method used, the frenulum is partially to completely destroyed by circumcision. You know how many circumcision botches there are? And then when they grow up, they have constant issues, painful issues, surgeries again. I mean, it's so stupid. And it all could be prevented just by not doing it. Proper blood flow. The foreskin contains several feet of blood vessels, including the frenular artery and branches of the dorsal artery. The loss of this rich vascularization interrupts normal blood flow to the shaft and glands of the penis, damaging the natural function of the penis and altering its development. You know, blood flow is life. Blood flow is everything. If you damage blood flow in your body, you have disease, period. Period. You have it. Immunological defense. The soft mucosa of the inner foreskin produces plasma cells which secrete immunoglobulin antibodies and antibacterial proteins such as the pathogen-killing enzyme called lysozyme. Now, anything that is an internal organ that is exposed to the outside has natural defenses. Your mouth, your skin, anything that from outside to within, foreign material can get in that's not you, has these enzymes and cells to communicate with the rest of the body and to protect the body. That's what it is. That's how you stay healthy, is to make sure that the body knows what is self and what is non-self, and then goes to get the job of getting out non-self, things that are not of the self that need to go. Then that's the body tags that with immunological tagging, and then lets the rest of the somatids in the body do the work getting it out. Simple as that. And guess what? The foreskin has that too, and you're taking that away. That's what's such a joke about this lie about HIV/AIDS and all this kind of crap. I mean, first of all, HIV doesn't even exist. So you can watch my videos on the hoax of viruses. But then they lie and tell you that if you circumcise your child, they have less chance of getting AIDS, HIV/AIDS. Oh my God, really? It's actually the exact opposite. Just like they'll tell you with vaccines, if you get vaccines, you prevent disease. It's the exact opposite. If you get a vaccine, you get the disease. That is the disease. You're getting a disease. It's this, just flip everything around what they say upside down and you've pretty much got the truth. Okay. All right, so we know this is going the first line of defense at the penis. Hello, and Intact men are at a lower risk of chlamydia and other sexually transmitted diseases. Well, guess what? Because they have their natural skin cells and communication devices there that can tell the body what they're coming in contact with and what they need to produce to make sure that self is self and not getting non-self cells and bacteria and so forth inside of it. Simple as that. Proper lymph flow. This one's interesting. The foreskin contains lymphatic vessels which are necessary for proper lymph flow and immunological functioning. So it has a lot of lymph as well, which is they're very fine vessels. And we've learned more and more about the lymphatic system, that it's very vital, and it actually is very intricate. And there's so much more we're still learning about the body. We're still so ignorant, it's ridiculous. And how could we even go forward in this ignorance and just agree to this false science and make a decision that has a huge impact on the entire life of our child? The entire life of your child is impacted on some kind of careless decision just to hand your baby over to butchers, right? That's the entire rest of their life now without that. You can't get that back. It's done. If they want to go ahead and mutilate themselves when they're older, that's their own decision, right? But to do it in a child that just is going to distinguish the rest of their life and their sexual life, wow, you don't own that child. You made that child came through you, but you don't own them. They're a soul. They have their own independent life. Get over yourself. All right. Estrogen receptors. This is really amazing that there are estrogen receptors on the end of on the glands, but also on the foreskin, mainly the foreskin. And they don't even understand why. But I'll tell you why. Because estrogen is what a female makes. And there's a feedback loop of the estrogen being hit on that receptor. So estrogen coming off the female, touching that, and I bet there's a feedback loop going, what kind of sperm's coming through, and all of that to make a child of a specific type. Because depending on where a woman is in her cycle, she produces varying levels of estrogen. And that feedback, isn't that amazing? So that estrogen is going to feed back to the male and tell the male information of the sperm and what's going to be made and how much even to ejaculate. I mean, I bet it's all that. I bet you $1 million. That's what it is. And if she's fertile or not, and what's going in, and how the baby's being made. Because a lot of this obviously isn't just for pleasure, it's also for reproduction. So there's feedback information. There's communication going on there. There is penis, vagina talking. Yes, there is. All right, apocrine glands. These glands produce pheromones, nature's invisible yet compelling signals to potential sexual partners. The effect of their absence on human sexuality and behavior has never been studied. I'll tell you this much: you don't have it. You don't have the proper chemical communication with your mate. You're going to pick wrong partners. How's our divorce rate looking these days? Sebaceous glands. The oils produced by these glands lubricate and moisturize the foreskin and glands so that the two structures function together smoothly. Makes sense? The dartos fascia. This is a smooth muscle sheath that underlies the scrotum, the entire penis and tip of the foreskin. It's necessary for proper temperature regulation of the genitals. You know, if you get orchitis and you get, if you have a high fever and get orchitis, it can damage your sperm. Proper temperature regulation of the boys is important for spermogenesis, right? And the foreskin actually communicates the temperature back to that area, to what needs to be cooled down or whatever, if you need to hang low or if you need to tighten it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is amazing. That is an amazing communication. But cut it off, because I'm sure it has no bearing on that. You know, who needs it? Who needs all this communication? It's just a piece of skin. It's just a little snip. All right. So that's the dartos fascia. Half the dartos fascia is destroyed by circumcision. Good job, guys. Natural texture and coloration of the glands. The intact penis of glands is normally, it's moist and shiny, pinkish red to dark purple. These visual cues often attract and excite a sexual partner. The glands of a circumcised penis is dry, rough, and often light pink to bluish gray in color and ugly. Sorry, buddy. Ugly. Not pretty to me. Zero risk of serious infection or surgical injury. Unfortunately, boys who suffer botched circumcisions lose part or all of their penis from surgical mishap or subsequent infection. Do you really want to risk your son's life like this? Is it that important to you to risk their life? They just got born. How about you let them live a little before you go and put them under the surgical knife? Good idea. Beware of surgeons. They're trained to cut. They like cutting. They get off on it. Be careful. They're also paid to cut, right? That's their business. So they are often sexually reassigned when they fuck up your son's penis. So now they become a girl. Whoops! Now they're a girl. Oh yeah, that's going to go well for them for their life. They're not going to be cuckoo at all. Because the transsexual culture, they're really sane and healthy in mind. Yeah, real good. Okay, but don't say that, because you can't say anything against them because whatever. Don't say that. Don't dare say anything. We're living a PC culture. Okay, so now they're transgendered because somebody screwed up with the knife on their penis. Think about that for a second, please. So now they're relegated to life of hormone therapy. What do hormones do? Just think about it for a second. I know when I'm ovulating, I don't think you want to cross me sideways. You know what I'm saying? Hormones are very powerful for our emotions. They are one and the same, really. They do affect how we feel. Now you're going to be giving synthetic hormones into the body, and they're going to be stable with mood and mind. Think so? Food for thought. Just saying. Pseudo-females. And they've never assessed the success of these pseudo-females in life. How are they doing? How are they doing? How is their mental, emotional health? How are their relationships? Are they doing a lot of heroin? Are they like functional members of society? What are they doing? Nobody knows. Nobody seems to care, it seems either. Zero risk of death from surgery. Oh, wait a second, they can die from circumcision. Yeah. Every year, boys die from the complications of circumcision, a fact that the American circumcision industry ignores, obscures, or downplays. Well, they don't want you to know there's a little scam. They want you to keep doing it, obviously. Zero risk of delayed or diminished maternal bonding. Circumcision, even if anesthetic is used, causes unavoidable operative trauma and postoperative pain that has been shown to disrupt bonding with the mother, which in turn interferes with the first developmental task of every human, that of trust. Trust in human contact and in personal safety, etc. Yes, of course. You think that child can't feel? They don't even really numb the pain. They put a soother or a lollipop in their mouth, poor things. Strap them down so they can't even fight back. How do you think they're going to think about their world now? Is it safe? Can they trust their own mother or father who did this to them ever again? Really? What does it do to the psyche? A lot, I'll tell you. A lot. Electromagnetic cross communication. Anecdotal reports, now I'm in trouble for saying this wrong before. Say it right, Amanda. Anecdotal reports suggest that without the mucosa of its foreskin, the penis lacks the capacity for the subtle electromagnetic energy transfer that occurs during contact between two mucous membranes, the vaginal walls and the exposed inner lining of the foreskin. Such contact contributes to the full experience of sexual pleasure. Yes, we're electrical beings. Just look at the heart, for an example. Just look at the cell potential, how it has to open. Just look at a muscle contracting. All electrical. It's all electrical. We are electrical. We have a field. This messes with the field. Actually, any cut, poke, prod will mess with the etheric field, what's called the etheric field, which is what is being explained here, which is the electromagnetic spectrum that is within and on us. That you can actually, it's tangible. You can see it. You can take pictures of it. It's real. People who are sensitive can see it with their own two eyes. Such contact contributes to the full experience of sexual pleasure. These reports deserve further scientific study. Well, yeah, it does deserve a lot more. The foreskin is necessary for optimal health and well-being of the male, as well as contributing to fulfillment in his sexual relationships. This is from noharmwith2m's.org/advantage.htm. All right, I read that for you in case you can't read. My point is, and I'm trying to get through to people here and help you understand how ridiculous it is. And it's so ridiculous that we even have to fight for your baby. Like, other people are fighting for your baby's health. I'm not having a son. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, to that point where we are trying to fight for your children. Sharing truth, because this is true information. There is nothing you need to add or take away from your baby. Now, unless they were born with webbed hands and feet and you want to fix that, okay. I'm talking about a normal baby that has everything intact. You don't need to go and take anything out. You don't need to add anything in. Their immune systems are fine. They learn by experience. They get it from the mother's breast milk. They get it. They learn about it, their experience by eating soil, eating dirt. And that's a natural reflex. Okay. And we have a problem with bonding in our culture, in our cult. And I know that the circumcised population is affected, very affected for that level of bonding. I know that I'm holding out for a non-circumcised male. So if you want to date me, you better have it all intact. Sorry, but that's my preference. So, like, there you go, right? How many women I know in their 50s are trying to have a normal sex life and they can't because the male circumcised, they dry out. And as a woman matures, there's less estrogen to keep things moist, and just the way it's made. So anyway, I wanted to touch on that. What I was talking about in my birthing story and all of this, and I had a girl. I didn't have to go through the same levels of it as women who are having boy children. It's easy. You never retract the frickin' foreskin. That's where trouble ensues. That the stupid idiot doctors who think that they have to retract the foreskin. Get an education. Be responsible. If you're gonna proud around your little MD stupid title, think you're all important and better than other people, at least learn something. At least educate yourselves outside of your brainwashed schools, your mind controlled corporate run schools. Get a life. Take some responsibility. My God. And at least don't retract a normal, healthy child's foreskin. It will go on its own. You clean what is seen. That's it. It's easier to take care of a child who has a foreskin. Just clean what is seen. When they get older, they will start to have erections. They will learn about their, how to clean underneath when it finally retracts on its own. It's not difficult. I don't know where this myth came from. And yes, sure, when I did hear one complaint about a woman taking care of her elderly uncircumcised father, and it was hard because she had to clean that, and I'm like, oh well, here we are now on the other end of life where we have to discuss which I'll probably have to do a talk on that. We have to talk about this drugging and poisoning all the way through life, so that at the end of life they're inebriated and wheelchair bound and they can't function anymore and take care of themselves, because we've damaged them all through their entire life by poisoning them and doing all kinds of heinous, ridiculous things. That's a different story. But don't make that your excuse fine, circumcise the elderly. If he needs that, if it's a problem, then put him under, or, anesthetize the area and get it done if he's not going to use the foreskin anymore because he's wheelchair bound. That's a different story, but don't mix your stories up, because to have a lifelong, normal, healthy sexual life, free of disease, happy, committed in your relationships, bonded, deeply bonded, bonding with your mother, all of this stuff, not brain damage. There was a study that I'll see if I can pull it up and post it, but study showing actual foci, nerve damage, brain damage done by circumcision. Their brains are never wired the same again with that trauma. We know from Dr. Hammer's work, the German New Medicine, that any trauma will leave a mark from the psyche into the brain, whether it's probably, I would imagine we see it in the pons and in the cerebellum. Damage from trauma, it hits the brain and it affects disease later in life, okay? How about we take a deep breath and just stop meddling with natural processes and go to nature for the medicine and walk away from the brainwashed society that compels us to think we have to hand over our power to them, and just get back to truth. Because truth will always linger. It will always last. It will always stay. And we just have to remember it and then live by it. Okay? And if your religion tells you you have to cut your little boy's penis or your little girl's vagina, then your religion is messed up. And you need to walk away from it. And I know there are, in Judaism, there's this sickness is embedded in it. But there are Jews against circumcision. There are more and more groups supporting that, even within the religious doctrine. Align with them. Get a club going in your area. Talk about it. Don't let the PC world shut your mouth. You got to talk. We got to talk about these things. I do it in a way that's really bold and out there because that's who I am, and I'm going to live who I am. I'm going to be who I am, right? And that's my message as a way that I communicate. And you may communicate in a different way, but that's your individual self-expression that you have a right to do. We are in a free society, or we're trying to make a free society, or we're trying to break out of the bonds of this society. And so we need to speak about these things and not be quiet about them. And that, it does impact you. With your whole society is of circumcised males, it impacts the males, and then it'll impact your society. It impacts your community. It does affect you. And so you do have a right to say something about it. You don't have the right to dictate anything, but you do have a right to open your mouth and say what you feel. Okay, so do it. We need more of it. More people saying enough. Especially in Canada. Oh my gosh, nobody says anything. Oh. And at least I noticed the difference in America. At least in America, they go, no way. You suck. At least in New York, you get one of these. Like, yeah, fine. I'd rather this than, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. And then, in their little houses, that fucking that passive aggressive bullshit. I'd rather you just tell them off. All right, I'm going on and on. Hope that was helpful for you. Share it with new moms. Help them become empowered to make those decisions for their children and to get educated on the facts. That circumcision is an absolute fraud. Same with vaccination. And all of these stupidities that came in from big business industry that wants nothing more than to control you, suppress you, damage you, take from you until you're dead. Bye. Have a good day. Talk to you soon.